Savannah Hernandez.
Savannah Hernandez.
Savannah Hernandez.
Savannah Hernandez.
Savannah Hernandez.
Savannah Hernandez got her start in politics pretty recently, but in a very short time frame, she has made a name for herself as a fearless independent journalist, uncovering the truth of what's going on in the streets of America as well as abroad.
Did you see any other reporters on the streets of Portland documenting what truly is shocking to most Americans watching tonight?
No, I seem to be the only one, Laura. It's absolute chaos out here. I was immediately attacked. I've never seen so much interest in a story. I don't think white privilege is a thing. I think brown privilege is a thing.
That was wild.
What's up, guys? It's Sav. I'm just here, and I'm with this guy.
What are you doing here?
Tucker Carlson? Hey, what's up? Well, hello, my friends. I know it's been a while since I've been back with you, but thank you so much for being patient and waiting for my return. Let's go ahead and delve into the insanity that is modern day America. From the trans shooter who targeted innocent Christian children while they prayed at mass to Shiloh Hendricks, the foul-mouthed mommy who will now be facing potential jail time for saying mean words, there is a lot going on in the United States, specifically Minnesota for some reason. Now, we'll be getting into all of that today, but also discussing the cultural impact of where we are as a country. I'm talking the Indian truck driver that killed 3 Americans, the fraudulent visa programs that have contributed to the current state of our economy, the 55 million visa holders who are now under the watch of the Trump admin, and of course, the federalization of U.S. cities across the nation and why that's necessary. A lot has happened since I've been with you last, but I'm back for one last episode of Rapid Fire before I rebrand the entire show. So let's delve in. My name is Savannah Hernandez, and today we are going to be discussing why Gen Z is so radicalized against immigration and also how our country got to where it is. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Now, before we jump into all of this important news, please remember that we are also on podcast. So if you would prefer to listen to the show instead of look at me rant and rave at all of these crazy headlines, go check us out on Apple Podcasts and go leave a 5-star review if you love the show. If you hate it, leave a 5-star review, but then you can tell me why you hate me as well. I don't care. I read every single review though. So if you want to talk to me and make sure that I'm reading your messages, go and check out the podcast and leave a review there. Or you can also go to Subscribestar. Now, I answer my messages on Subscribestar every single Monday, and this is also a really great way to support the show and be in direct contact with me. Now, enough of the shameless plugging, my friends, because we have a lot that we need to get to. And I wanted to start the show off today with none other than John Adams talking about our Constitution, the United States of America, the foundations of our country, because we've gotten so far away from remembering what the foundations of this country are that we have turned into this culture that is completely divided. There's so much disunity in our country right now because we forgot what the founding fathers created this nation to be. We forgot what the founding fathers intended. Now, let's remember what John Adams famously said back in 1798. He said, regarding our Constitution, that it was made for a moral and religious people. Morality and virtue are the foundation of our republic and necessary for a society to be free. Okay, that's very important, my friends. Let's just put a pin on that in our minds. Morality and virtue are the foundation of our republic and necessary for a society to be free. Virtue is an inner commitment and voluntary outward obedience to principles of truth and moral law. Private virtue is the character to govern oneself according to moral law at all times. Public virtue is the character to voluntarily sacrifice or subjugate personal wants for the greater good of individuals or the community. These virtues are the moral fiber and moving force to act in accordance with wisdom. Now, Constitution made for a moral and religious people, okay? Morality and virtue, the foundation of our republic and necessary for us to be a functioning society. How did modern day America get to where it is, and why is this younger generation so radicalized against not only illegal immigration at this point, but also legal immigration? Well, it all ties back to the founding fathers and also the fact that everything that our country is currently living through is not what our founding fathers were intended this country to be. I haven't spoke on air with you guys for a long time, so I got to get my footing again, okay? I gotta get warmed back up as we jump into all of these subjects, because there has been just such insanity happening on the streets of America. And I have taken the last month. I haven't been with you guys for quite a while because one, I think I got COVID. Okay. I thought COVID was non existent anymore. Perhaps the government released the new variant, COVID 20, because usually when I get sick, I'm sick for about 3 days. I was sick for 3 weeks. I've been sick for almost the last month, essentially. I was coughing. I was fatigued. I was still trying to keep up with my other travels, my other reporting. So it's been a lot. And on top of all of that, doing the show as well was just too much for me. So I apologize that I was gone. I also recently purchased my first home. I'm very excited about that. And having to juggle all of those things at once, something had to give, and it was the show. So I apologize that I haven't been with you guys. But of course, if you missed me, remember to go follow me on X because all of my live reporting is posted there. I just got back from New York, actually. I was reporting on all of the African migrants that are still hanging out in New York. There is tons of illegals that are completely overrunning that entire city. And again, if you guys miss me on YouTube and you're like, hey, where's Sav been? What's she up to? Go follow me on X because that's where you will find a lot of my content. Now, let's just jump straight into the news, starting off with the horrific shooting that happened yesterday, because I do want to give an update to this story. Now, yesterday, a shooter went and targeted a Catholic church and shot and killed young Catholic children as they were praying during Mass. Okay, so just an update on what happened with this situation. 2 children, ages 8 and 10, were killed. 18 other victims were injured when the shooter opened fire during morning Mass. Keep in mind, this is the first week of school in Minneapolis. 15 children between the ages of 6 and 15 were injured. 3 adult parishioners also wounded. The shooter has been identified as Robin Westman, 23. I'm reading this from NBC News. This is a trans shooter, and of course, NBC had to use the correct pronouns here because there's nothing like respecting the mass shooting, mentally ill individual who killed children. Great job, NBC News. Though the shooter had disturbing posts on social media, there is no evidence to suggest that the shooter was legally barred from purchasing a firearm, officials said. Now, a little update on that story. Again, like I stated, this shooter, and there is a consistent pattern in per capita. Why is it that trans shooters are demographically the highest or the most likely to commit mass shootings in the United States of America? I wonder what that's tied to, what that's linked to. Maybe the big pharma medications that they are consistently being pumped with that make them suicidal. Maybe the fact that society, instead of getting these people the help they need, only affirm their delusions and state that, hey, if you're trans, you got to protect yourself with violence. If somebody doesn't agree with you or affirm your delusions, if a woman says that you're not really a woman and that you as a man are making her feel uncomfortable in the women's restroom, yeah, violence is valid because she hurt your feelings. That's modern day America toward the trans community. And now they make up the majority of mass shootings in this country per capita. Andy No posted that the Minneapolis trans mass shooter of Christian children, Robert Westman, came from a very liberal family in Minnesota who fully affirmed his transition. Westman's 18th birthday was celebrated by his father, James, in the trans colors, and the family had the court change his legal identity when he was still a minor. The reason he identified as a female and wants his name to reflect that identification. Now, there is a lot coming out regarding this trans shooter stating he didn't want to be trans anymore, but he couldn't retransition because it would essentially mean defeat in the eyes of society. I don't know. This person was clearly mentally ill. He had put up his manifesto notebook in which he was flipping past LGBTQ equality stickers. He was posting these really disturbing drawings of him looking in the mirror and Satan essentially looking back at him. YouTube, of course, scrubbing all of these videos. Instagram scrubbing all of these videos to keep the public from knowing what this man's clear motive was. Now, different from previous administrations, the Trump admin has already addressed this shooter as a deranged and evil monster. You do have the media stating that this is a trans shooter. Thank goodness. Let's call it as it is. Let's highlight who the problem in society is in this situation. Caroline Levitt earlier today stating the FBI is investigating this as an act of domestic terrorism and a hate crime targeting Catholics. Incredible to see the government actually call a spade and highlight the fact that Christians are consistently being targeted in this nation, because let's keep in mind, this isn't the first time a trans shooter has targeted Christian children in school. Now, the Minneapolis police chief is working overtime and saying that he's not aware of any mental health issues of the school shooter. Nick Sortor posts, they refused to admit he was a mentally ill man who thought he was a woman. This is in Tim Walz's Minnesota, of course. And this is one, and I will again tie all of these subjects today back to Gen Z and the younger generations, just complete disgust with the modern day government and complete just disappointment with how things are run. Okay. So it's very clear we have an epidemic here of trans violence, of trans terrorism, of mentally ill people who, instead of, being put in hospitals, being given the help they need, they are affirmed and allowed to terrorize society. And anybody who speaks out against them is called a bigot, a horrible person. Okay. That was one aspect of the story. The other aspect is Congress, right? They could be doing things like passing Marjorie Taylor Greene's single issue Protect Children's Innocence Act. Okay. Let me just talk about Congress here for a second, because Marjorie Taylor Greene has been introducing single issue bills for the majority of this year, right? And what are these single issue bills? Well, essentially, instead of us getting this huge 1,000-page bill that's introduced to Congress that they, sneak a bunch of ridiculous things that have nothing to do with the American people or what this bill is supposed to be about into, a single issue bill, Marjorie Taylor Greene writes it up, she introduces it to Congress. And if we had a Republican Congress that actually cared about changing things for the better for the American people, they would be passing these single issue bills, passing them into the Senate, which again is also Republican controlled, and they should be trying to push all of these issues to the president's desk. Why is it that I only see Marjorie Taylor Greene continuing to push these single bill issues and trying to fix the problems that affect Americans every single day? She's tried to pass the Clear Skies Act. She's tried to pass this Protect Children's Innocent Act, which would make it an illegal felony to transition children. She goes on to state that children are not trans, and grooming them to embrace a dangerous mental illness is fake compassion and child abuse. She also wants to end gun-free school zones and protect children with armed guards, just like Congress is protected with armed guards. Yes, that's a great point. Why is it that our political officials are always protected with guns, but then they advocate to take away your guns? They advocate not to have your children's schools protected with security guards. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And it is how we have gotten to the point in this country where people are arguing for a more strict lockdown on laws, on rules, on criminals. Okay. We're going to talk about now the executive order that Trump signed banning flag burning, and also the federalization of American cities. And you might be saying, Sav, come on, this is old news. We've been talking about this for a while. Well, we're going to intersperse some headlines into how America got to this point where the younger generations are so radicalized that we're like, you know what? Forget it. We're tired. Americans are tired. Federalize everything, crack down on crimes. We want the prisons overflowing. We want mass deportations happen daily. We want the economy fixed. Enough is enough. How many more children have to die? We keep affirming evil in our society, and that's why this issue keeps happening. We're living in crazy land every single day. And in a sane society, we would have basic law and order. We would have the basic law of, hey, there's a bunch of unarmed, innocent children in this school. Let's go ahead and put security guards, armed security guards, at the front of every door to protect them. That's like a very basic, common sense, sane, first world idea. But for some reason in the United States, we can't implement it. Now, one of the conversations that has been swirling around the right wing specifically is Trump signing this executive order banning flag burning. And perhaps I'm too radicalized because I am too involved in politics, but to be quite honest with you, I do feel that my opinion is reflective of a lot of younger Americans. Now, you had perhaps older Americans, or even some Americans stating, libertarians especially, Donald Trump shouldn't sign this executive order because it's a First Amendment right issue to be able to burn the American flag. First off, burning a flag is not speech, okay? That doesn't fall under 1A. Second off, and again, regarding this executive order, if you go to your backyard, if you're on your private property burning an American flag, the DOJ is not going to come after you for that. It's for incitement of a riot, right? That they would come after you. That's what this executive order essentially states. But to be quite honest with you, I am in favor of us protecting the symbols of our nation. Because going back to what John Adams stated about morality and virtues, we are no longer a country that has morals, values, or virtues. We have become so divided and we have no unity because of the mass immigration of both illegal and legal immigrants that has been allowed to happen in this country since the 80s, that has completely upended and destroyed our cultures, destroyed our morals, destroyed our values. And it's why we have no common or shared values amongst people anymore. So regarding this executive order, to all of the people saying, oh, well, we have to defend our 1A rights. One, this does not even fall under 1A. Like, that's ridiculous. If you look at the details of this executive order, go burn an American flag. You're not going to get arrested for it. This is for incitement of a riot. Second off, we are no longer the country that our founding fathers created. We are overrun. We are invaded with people who hate us. We are subverted by not only foreign countries, but our own government who hates us. So to be quite honest with you, I'm at the point where it's like, federalize every blue city, crack down on crime, because you have district attorneys, you have district court judges, you have governors, you have mayors who work on behalf of criminals and continue to let them out on the streets every single day, refuse to enact any basic law and order to protect American citizens. And it's how you create situations like the horrific shooting that happened yesterday. And to those who are saying, oh, Sav, it's a slippery slope, this is no longer the country that we once had. Joe Biden, the Democrats over the last 4 years, they weaponized every federal agency against American citizens, okay? You had Donald Trump. They were trying to throw him in jail on like 90 plus charges, many of which are now being dropped because they had no weight. We've been invaded over just the last 4 years with 10 million illegal immigrants who have no respect for rule of law or our country. And again, we're going to be getting into the legal immigration aspect of this as well, because there are visa programs that are just rife with fraud. And we can no longer accept people into our country. We are at capacity. We have no unity. We have no, again, shared culture because we keep importing people by the millions every single year. And the American people are tired. The younger generations are tired. And it's why people see the National Guard mobilizing in 19 states amid immigration and crime crackdown. And they say, incredible. I'm happy to see this. This is what we need, because we don't even have basic law and order on our streets anymore. Now, if you look at the map of where the National Guard is being deployed to, it is primarily red states, which I would say good, because guess what? In every single major red state, major cities within those red states, like Texas, for example, are run by Democrats. Democrats who love lawlessness and who refuse to crack down on crime and do the very bare minimum of throwing criminals in jail. Again, no morals, no values, no virtues. It's why our country is completely degrading. It's hilarious because I was going to get on here and I was going to be relaxed today and fun. And I was like, let me keep it jovial. Let me keep it calm. But it's like when I start talking about these issues, I get so frustrated about where our country is right now. And I feel like we're fighting for a country that no longer exists. And these arbitrary, oh no, this executive order about burning the flag is bad because 1A. It's like, are you serious? You have illegal immigrants who are waving foreign flags on our streets while burning our flag, saying they hate America. And it's like, oh, well, they have their own God-given human rights too. Absolutely. So send them back to their countries where they can go exercise those rights. We're going to talk about Kilmar Prego Garcia here in a second too. And that's everything that his lawyer argues. Like, well, he has constitutional rights. No, if you are not an American citizen, you do not have constitutional rights in this country. You need to leave. And Gen Z and the younger generation have seen how, again, crime and lawlessness have destroyed our country, have destroyed our economy, have destroyed our university systems, have destroyed our abilities to get a job, have destroyed our ability to get a home, have destroyed our ability to even drive on the streets safely. We're going to be discussing all of it today because, to be quite honest, again, I've been really marinating on this for the last month. And it's heartbreaking to see the United States continue to mirror the UK more and more every single day. I'm sure you guys saw this story already. Ex-Space Force Sergeant Orest Sher sentenced to 54 years in prison for fatally shooting a suspected teen car thief. Now, the issue here is these teens were trying to break into his vehicle. This was out of Aurora, Colorado. And after they ran off, he continued to chase them and he fatally shot one of the teens. He is now being put in prison for 54 years. If we lived in a sane society with basic law and order, he would never have to have defended his car from being broken into in the first place. But we don't. I'm sure many of you as well have seen this video of the skateboarder in New York City. He is being confronted by this man with a knife. And there's a cop, by the way, out of frame in this video, right? And the skateboarder's like, yo, man, leave me alone, leave me alone. The guy with the knife goes to confront him, so the skateboarder knocks him out, and then the cops come in, and the cops come and confront the skateboarder for defending himself. This is why the younger generation is so radicalized, and they do want the National Guard to come in. They do want to crack down on crime. They want people deported. We are exhausted. We are tired. And at this point, too, the police force is only there to stop innocent Americans from defending themselves, to be quite honest with you. This is the exact same pattern that we saw during COVID, where our leaders enacted draconian and truly unconstitutional laws, and then the business owners who opened their doors and said, I'm not adhering to this, this is ridiculous. The people who said, I'm not wearing a face mask, I'm not getting a vaccination, the police were coming and confronting them. Now, remember that and put a pin in it, because we're going to jump over across the pond to the UK in a minute and talk about what's going on over there. But that's New York. That's Colorado. You defend yourself, you defend your property, you're the one that's going to go to jail. You're the one that's going to get confronted. Meanwhile, in New York, their state just filed 10 criminal charges against the green dildo thrower, including criminal possession of a weapon, who threw a green dildo on the court of a WNBA game. This is how unserious we are as a country. You throw a green dildo at some female basketball players. By the way, nobody would have even known that happened because nobody's out here watching the WNBA. The only time people willingly watch clips from the WNBA is when people clip it up on Twitter, and it's everybody laughing about the fact that they're trying to make a basket and the ball just keeps missing again and again and again and again. It's like an SNL skit. That's the only time people are watching the WNBA, or when somebody throws a dildo on the damn court. The state of New York came in quick. 10 criminal charges filed against this guy for throwing a green dildo. Meanwhile, you can go and ravage the streets of New York, and you can go and knock women unconscious. You can go and harass people. You can go and have, I want to say that Jordan Neely, remember Daniel Penny and Jordan Neely? Daniel Penny went and confronted Jordan Neely because he was harassing and threatening people on the subway and threatening to attack them. Daniel Penny came and stepped in. Guess what? The cops went and arrested him. The state of New York brought charges against him. Jordan Neely, I believe, at that point had over 60 charges against him. Or not 60 charges, but 60 past incidents of harassing, attacking people across New York. But was it Jordan Neely who got arrested? Who was taken off of the streets? No, it was Daniel Penny, the American who was trying to defend other Americans. And this is why people are tired. This is why we are exhausted. Another thing that happened while I was on break, you had Big Balls out of DC get his ass kicked by a group of teens who were trying to carjack a woman. He steps in, he tries to help her out. This is how he was left, bloodied and bruised. This is what initially led to the federalization of DC, by the way, which resulted in 12 days of no murders. 12 days. And we celebrated that as a country. And to be quite honest with you, not to be a black pillar here, that's great, but also, is it not lost on anybody else that 12 days of not murdering somebody should just be like a basic civilized country reaction? Is it that shocking? Or I guess, are we that overwhelmed with criminals that 12 days of somebody not getting brutally murdered is a feat at our nation's capital, by the way? Also, update on the Big Bowl story. Those suspects have been freed after assaulting that staffer. Yeah. I want to say it was the district attorney went ahead and let them out. Prosecutors working for DC Attorney General Brian Schwalb, who has promoted lenient policies for juvenile defendants, opposed the Thursday release of the teen suspects. Prosecutors said the girl has another pending case in Maryland and is a danger to the community, according to the Washington Post. The boy's lawyer reportedly told the court that his client hadn't been arrested before. They already got let out. They have past records, but yeah, go ahead and let them out of jail. And again, this came out 2 days ago. DC's no killing streak ends after 12 days. The only reason there was a no kill streak to begin with was because Donald Trump went in and said, we're going to federalize DC. We're going to have National Guard walking around. We're going to have the DEA. We're going to have I believe they had like agents from multiple intelligence agencies walking around the streets, or just multiple agencies, 3-letter agencies walking the streets of DC. And residents were cheering it on. They were like, wow, I can actually walk down the street. That's crazy. Here is a DC resident talking about what DC has been like over the last almost 2 weeks now.
They said FBI, DEA, ICE, it's all that outside in Washington, D.C. I don't even got to look over my shoulder no more. I'm walking around with this shit. I ain't hiding none of this shit. I'm walking blocks with this motherfucker. Listen, jump out on me if you want. I'm going to scream. They're going to be here in 33 seconds. As soon as you tell them about, get that shit up. Ah! Help! They going to help the shit out of me. Y'all niggas jump out if y'all want. Good God.
So there you guys go. That's one funny clip that I saw, but there were so many videos like this going viral across the internet of residents of DC being like, wow, I can actually stop at a red light and not worried about getting my car jacked? That's crazy. And my main takeaway from this story is, how did our country get so out of control? How did we get so far away from morals and virtues that you can't even stop at a light without being worried about getting robbed or murdered in Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States of America? Now, Donald Trump stated he wants Chicago to be next. He wants to go in, he wants the National Guard to take over the city and stop crime. And to be quite honest with you, because you guys know that I've traveled from coast to coast, my specialty is the drug and homeless crisis. I've seen the crime. I've seen the streets. I know what it's like. I know what people are living through. My opinion is that every major Democrat-run city should be federalized, to be quite honest with you. Oh, Sav, that's a slippery slope. I don't care. I really don't care. How do you think we get this country back? By asking the Democratic Party, who hates us, hey, can you crack down on crime? Hey, maybe we should stop allowing people to, stop stealing things under $950, because that has actually led to a huge surge in crime. Can you please help us? You have American citizens that are literally begging for help. And to be quite honest with you, this is what American resources should be used for, helping American citizens. This is what our taxpayer dollars should be used for, helping American citizens. I've just gotten very extreme about it, because it's like you have leaders that hate the American people so much that they will advocate for any issue. They will throw our money to any foreign country to make them safer, to make their border secure. But when it comes to Americans, when it comes to our own city streets, they refuse to help us. Here is CNN, by the way, going to Chicago and trying to ask residents how they feel about the National Guard coming in, if they're scared. This is what they had to say.
My first reaction was that this is a good thing. I think that the governor as well as the mayor should be on board with it, just so we can get a bit more of security in Chicago the way that we need.
The crime has dropped since 2024. Do you feel like the city feels safer?
No, not at all. No, especially with the police being defunded.
So there is CNN trying to tell a Chicago resident who lives on the streets of Chicago, well, actually, sure, maybe your whole family is getting shot. Maybe children are getting shot in Chicago every single weekend, but technically the police say that crime is down. Sure, have the police recategorize the way they label crime so that way the statistics go down, perhaps. But look at these fake statistics. The crime has gone down. And then meanwhile, it's like behind you, somebody getting stabbed. And it's like, and CNN's like, no, don't look at that. The crime stats are down. Okay, shut up. It's like this article that I was reading out of the LA Times just goes to show how ridiculous everything is in this country. I promise we'll get to the immigration subject here in a moment. I just wanted to touch on the crime issue for a second, because like I said, it all ties into just the complete radicalization of the younger generation in the United States. Can't even protect yourself. The police won't protect you. The only people police are protecting are the criminals. And then the DA and your district court judges are also going to work on behalf of and protect criminals as well. You have the LA Times writing this article. Trump says Beverly Hills is crime-ridden. Really? I've never felt unsafe here. And then you go into the article and the top reads that President Trump has railed against American cities. He says they're beset by crime and disorder. Los Angeles, lawless. Chicago, a killing field. Baltimore, a hellhole. Washington, out of control. But Beverly Hills, as the president this week threatened to send National Guard and other troops to more American cities, he has some choice words about the wealthy enclave. They go on to say that Trump is stating that his friends just leave their vehicles unlocked so that way criminals can open the door and rummage through people's cars themselves without having to break the windows open. Saying that's an issue that, again, the people who actually live on the street are dealing with. The LA Times says, that's not happening. We haven't heard of that. That's crazy. In the same article, reported cases of stolen items, they put in parentheses, that amounted to less than a $950 loss. It's under $1,000. It's not even that much money. Come on, guys. From a vehicle within the city has steadily increased. Oh, according to the Beverly Hills Police, in 2022, there were a total of 324 thefts, an estimated 386 in 2023, and then in 2024, there were 472. Police data show overall crime in the city rose in 2022 and 2023, but fell in 2024. In recent years, Beverly Hills Police have been most focused on retail crime in the luxury good corridor of Rodeo Drive, not car thefts. That's my favorite part about this article, that sentence right there. It's like, oh, Donald Trump said that residents are getting their cars stolen or things stolen out of their cars. Actually, that's not true. Things are just getting stolen from retail stores and out of people's homes. And it's under less than $1,000. So what's the issue here? So silly. Trump's such an idiot. The American people are so stupid. Like, okay, you think car thefts are happening? It's actually retail stores and a surge in crime that way. You guys are so wrong. Fact check. That's the modern day American media. It's such a freaking joke. And then you have white liberals across the nation. And I couldn't believe that this was real. You guys all saw this already. But the fact that it's been deleted, I have to archive it just for my own treasure trove, okay? Sometimes I like to go back and I watch my shows just to be like, what was happening a year ago today? Let's take a peek at some of the stories that I forgot about. You know, what's the progress that's been made? The archive for August 2025 is from Jill Simonillo. Okay, so Jill, who is a Chicago resident, heard that Donald Trump was going to be sending National Guard in, and she was like, I've been carjacked in Chicago and I had my arm broken. I still don't want you or your troops here, Donald Trump. And then she takes a picture of her broken arm. Yeah. So this is what John Adams was talking about when he stated that the foundation of our republic is shared morals, values, virtues, how the Constitution was written for people who have those things, which I would venture to say are not carjackers or the people defending them, if I'm honest with you. I would go so far as to say the modern day Constitution, or I guess the 1776 documents and the original Constitution, they don't apply to modern day America, because modern day America is not the country that the founding fathers created. It has been overrun, it's been invaded. And also, let's keep in mind that the Constitution was written with the immigrants of that time being European, therefore sharing the same culture of the immigrants, if you will, right? The British settlers who came to the United States of America. I feel like that's an interesting caveat that a lot of people forget about. So that's what's going on in terms of crime. And the UK has been on everybody's mind in the US this week because they're out of control. They're the shining beacon on the hill of what the United States is going to turn into if we don't get our illegal immigration crisis under control, if we don't get our police under control, to be quite honest with you. And under control, I mean doing the right thing again, arresting criminals, not the innocent Americans who are defending themselves. Shiloh Hendricks just had 3 misdemeanor charges brought against her. She's facing up to 90 days in jail or a $1,000 fine because she said the N-word to a Somali child who was stealing out of her daughter's or her child's diaper bag. She has a son. My apologies. Now, this video went really viral and it enraged a lot of people because was it in poor taste for this foul-mouthed mommy to call a little child the N-word? Perhaps. But is the average American fatigued and tired of foreigners and their children stealing from them, rummaging through their bags, and then telling them, you can't say anything to me because that's racist? Yes. Americans are tired. They're exhausted. And these are the same exact types of draconian speech laws in the UK that led to Pakistani rape gangs in which the Brits are not even allowed to talk about how their daughters are being groomed and raped by migrants because that's racist. Shiloh Hendricks in the United States of America, in Minnesota, is being charged for saying a mean word. Now, let's dial back the clock 1-2 decades ago. This situation happens before phones. Oh no, she says a mean word. Everyone goes back to living their regular life. But now, because of social media, because of the gold status that illegal immigrants and migrants in this country have been given, a situation like this erupts, which, by the way, this is a First Amendment issue. Shiloh Hendricks, whether you love or hate what she said, has the First Amendment right to say that. Now she's getting charged for it. By the way, Minnesota is the same state that gave the lightest sentencing possible to a 42-year-old Somali man who raped a 12-year-old after abducting her out of her backyard. I've been following this story extensively. While I was gone on my hiatus from the show, I was actually in Minnesota. I went there for the first time to report on the Somali population. I wanted to understand, how did this enclave of Somalis get here? You have, I believe, 90,000 people over there. Minnesota, Minneapolis is known as the Somali capital of America. How did they come over here? What was the process? What's going on? One of the stories that was happening was this man right here raping a 12-year-old. And the most jarring, that's not even, well, it's jarring, obviously. You don't abduct 12-year-olds out of their backyards and then rape them. Well, this man's local mosque doubled down and wrote a letter of support for him. So I went in front of the mosque and I did a report about this because they stated that it's because of cultural differences that he did this. If in your culture, sexually assaulting a 12-year-old after kidnapping her is the norm, you should not be in the United States of America. What did John Adams say about morals and virtues again? Oh, the Constitution was written for people that have that. Do you think that this man here who kidnapped and raped a 12-year-old has morals and virtues? Do you think that his local mosque who supported him has morals or virtues? Or do you think that the Somali community that is now sending death threats to the victim's family and refusing to acknowledge this man's crimes have morals or virtues? How do we share a country with people who think that this type of behavior is okay? You can't. This is why the younger generation is so radicalized. Let's jump across the pond really quickly because sex crimes committed by foreign nationals in the UK rises 62% in 4 years. 62%. Now, I'm sure many of you guys saw this viral video this week. This is of a young Scottish girl who is wielding a machete or a knife and a hatchet as she is being confronted by a migrant man in Scotland. This 14-year-old girl was arrested in Dundee, Scotland for protecting herself and her friend from a migrant who wanted to assault them. Read that again. She was the one arrested because she protected herself again and against an assailant. Now, all of the details of this story have not since come out, but apparently these girls were missing for, I believe it was a month ahead of this incident. Many people speculating because these grooming gangs in the UK are very prevalent, in which they groom these young girls, they pump them full of alcohol and drugs, they take advantage of them sexually, and then when they go to the police or their parents go to the police blame the girls. The police blame the parents. The UK citizens are arrested. And this is one aspect and one facet of this issue. What else is going on in the UK? Well, just a couple days ago, you had a man that was arrested at a protest outside of a mosque because he said that he wants bacon. I'm not joking. Watch this video.
Okay, we want bacon. Why? Because I like bacon. I say you like bacon. Oh.
So that's how out of control the United Kingdom is. So this is a longer video, and he basically goes on to speak to the police, and the police say, well, that's very aggressive and it could hurt people's feelings and it could be construed as racially motivated to say that you like bacon outside of a mosque, so we have to potentially arrest you, sir. Sorry. That's what's going on in the UK. You have Muslims, you have immigrants, you have illegals and refugees, and these people who are not native to the population prioritized and given a gold standard. And then all of the population of Britain, the native people there, are the ones that suffer, are the ones that get arrested for their speech, for saying they like bacon. It's absolutely ridiculous. Another thing that's happening is the English flag is now being considered a racist symbol. And so, in direct result, members of the UK are going across their countries and they are raising the English flag in protest. And it's crazy because I was reading the story about this, how councils tearing down England flags has sparked backlash across the country. Apparently, the city councils over there basically saying that, yeah, I mean, one, the flag is racist. It could be seen as disrespectful or racist to foreigners who are here in this country. They don't like it, so we're going to go ahead and take the flag down. We don't want it up. Meanwhile, the Palestinian flag is allowed to fly over there. So the English are trying to push back, and they're raising their flag, but they're having to wear ski masks to put up the flag of their own nation in their own country. That's how out of control things are over there. Here's another quick clip of that happening.
We're getting them fucking higher because it's been taken down a couple of times. So they're going somewhere where people can't reach. And that is the end of that.
So there you go. You have Englishmen that are trying to put the flags even higher so the local government cannot come and take them down. And in that Daily Mail article, I just closed it out. But it's crazy because you have a black man who is a city worker who's taking down the flags. And he's quoted in this article saying, I don't know what this flag represents. I don't know why it's such a big issue that I take it down, but I'm taking it down. And of course, the Englishmen are like, don't take down the flag of our country. What the hell are you doing? Meanwhile, other foreign flags can be waved. What's going on here? It's why, again, the crackdown on burning the American flag or disrespecting the American flag in the United States is something that I think does need to be implemented. Not in the sense of, okay, we're burning the American flag on the street, it's my or on my private property, whatever, and it's not the incitement of a riot, you go to jail. But it's like, we need to protect the symbols of our nation. We need to protect our nation at this point. Because like I said, we are completely flooded with people who hate the United States of America. And every single day we inch closer and closer to our own government officials potentially waging war against our own flag. So I guess the question is, would you rather have a government that is working to protect the American flag, or would you rather have a government that is trying to take it down? Would you rather have a government that's protecting national symbols, or would you rather have a government that has completely bent the knee to illegal immigrants that shouldn't even be in the UK, that are attacking the citizens over there and now taking down their flag because it's offensive? Now, going back to the United States of America, because like I said, if Shiloh Hendricks, foul-mouthed mommy, as I like to call her, is even so much as charged for the situation that happened in Minnesota, that will just prove that we don't have freedom of speech in the United States of America at all. It will just prove that we are no better than the UK. And to be quite honest, I'm quite tired of illegal immigrants and migrants in this country being put on a pedestal and being given a gold status here. Even if you're here legally, if you do not show the utmost respect to this country, our flag, our nation, our values, our culture, get out. You should be deported. That's how hardline I am with this now, because you have entire enclaves of migrants who have set up shop across the United States of America. I actually have my Minnesota Somali doc coming out, should be out hopefully next week, that explains how you have all of these various like mini countries within the US. It's because of our legal immigration system. Why assimilate to a country when the United States is just going to legally import your entire country for you? What am I talking about? Well, start off with Donald Trump saying that he is going to allow 600,000 Chinese students into the United States. This sparked a lot of outrage this week, as it should, because Americans, thanks to the transparency of social media, are understanding just how fraudulent and how overrun our immigration system is. Legal immigration system. Now, this is a topic that is kind of iffy for a lot of people to talk to because we always want to take the route of we want immigration, just not illegal immigration. But I want to run through some numbers with you guys and explain how the United States got to its current condition, where you, a young American, can't buy a home. You can't get a job. You can't even get to school. You can't get into a university. Your child is not going to be prioritized in class. Why? Well, maybe because the migrant kid who just came in last year doesn't speak any English. So now your child's teacher is prioritizing that migrant child over your kid. Big issue that was happening, by the way, in Indiana, Logansport. If you never heard of that tiny town, yeah, they had a huge influx of Haitians in their tiny town. And none of the children who started attending the schools could speak English. So the teachers were then diverted to those kids. And then your kid is not getting taught properly. You want to go to Costco? You want to go to your local grocery store and it not be overrun with people? Well, that's just too bad. You want to drive on your streets and not deal. Okay. And this is the best example that I can give you guys to show you just how overrun we are with illegal immigrants as well. And we'll get to legal immigrants here in a second too. Remember at the beginning of this year when Donald Trump really started saying, okay, ICE is going to start going to neighborhoods. We're really going to start cracking down. What happened in California for the first time ever? There was no traffic. How did that happen? How many illegal immigrants are really on our streets every single day? How many people are really utilizing the resources of the United States of America? Now, it was just 10 million alone that came over in just the last 4 years. And then it was found out that you have another 55,000 visa holders that also, 55 million visa holders that are also in the United States of America. Now, they might not all be in the United States of America. I was reading the AP article on this, and that's the caveat that they tried to state. Well, not all of them are in the United States. Okay. 55 million visas have been given out to foreigners in the United States. This is why we have cultural issues, to be quite honest with you. Before I jump off of, by the way, the 600,000 Chinese students, let me explain to you, like I said, how this affects the university system, right? Because it might be like, oh, America's a big country. We can accept them. We have room. Well, I would venture to say that American students, American parents who are continuously assaulted with the weight of debt that they go into, just sending their children to school would beg to differ. Why is it so hard to get into schools, by the way? Why is it so expensive? Because we're competing with the entire world for these university spots. Should Americans have to compete with 600,000 Chinese students to get into school? We keep being told that Americans are lazy, we're incompetent, we don't want these jobs. Americans want jobs. They want homes. They want to be a part of the economy, but they can't because they're competing with millions of immigrants who have been prioritized. John Conard, who's on X, states that the problem with this 600,000 Chinese students coming into the U.S. is that he has a daughter who's applying to colleges who has a 4.0 GPA. She has zero chances of getting into a top-tier college. He's not even upset about her going to a second-tier college, but the upper tiers are expensive. He can't afford the full rate, and she's way too smart to take out crazy loans, so they're considering state schools and the Air National Guard. He states he's worth millions on paper, but he doesn't know how he's going to pay for 2 kids to go through college. It was not always like this, and it doesn't have to be like this. But of course, the one spot to get into a top-tier university is going to be way more expensive when the demand for that position and spot is not only being sought after by Americans, but also the entirety of the world. Going back to those 55 million foreigners with US visas, the Trump administration stated that they are going to be reviewing all of these visa holders, as they should, quite frankly. They're saying that anybody who has valid let me rephrase this. The Trump administration said Thursday it is reviewing more than 55 million people who have valid US visas for any violations that could lead to deportation. In a written answer to a question from the AP, the State Department said that all US visa holders, which can include tourists, are subject to continuous vetting. Absolutely incredible. Also, this is why I hate modern day journalism, because typically they would put in the lead what these visas were being vetted for, but it's freaking 5 paragraphs down. Just this is another example of how much our country is degraded. It's like you can't even read a freaking AP article and then put the information at the top of the damn article. Good Lord. But basically, there we go. 9 paragraphs in, the State Department said it was looking for indicators of ineligibility, including people staying past the authorized time frame, criminal activity, threats to public safety, engaging in any form of terroristic activity, or providing support to a terrorist organization. So there you guys go. Okay? This is a basic thing that we should have been doing. And to be quite honest with you, if you even look at the American flag wrong, you should get deported. You should have your visa revoked immediately. Immediately. If you come to this country and you refuse to assimilate, get out of the United States of America. You should not be awarded a green card if you cannot speak English or speak the language. And let me give you an example of what I am talking about. Here is a political rally out of Minnesota, where the majority of the Somalis who were over there were legally brought over via the refugee program and given green cards and visas via the U.S. government.
Yeah.
Virginia qabooba lagu dhalay laakiin sawaan adopt gareynay siidarna wax badan ma joogine.
Okay, so did you understand what she was saying? I don't speak Somalian, so I didn't understand what she was saying. By the way, you have entire neighborhoods that are like this in Minneapolis and across Minnesota. And the reason why the Somali community is so large over there is because back in the 90s, they had a civil war, and then the U.S. was like, hey, yeah, come on over, refugees. Also, did you guys know that we have a diversity visa lottery where every single year 55,000 visas are given out to people from countries with low immigration rates? So basically, now the countries with the lowest immigration rates are like Africa, a lot of Middle Eastern countries. They put their name in this lottery, and the State Department randomly picks them, and then they're awarded a green card. And that's it. They don't even have to speak English. They get to come over to the United States of America, and we give out 55,000 of those every single year. Let me talk to you guys about the refugee program, because back in the 1980s, you had the Refugee Act, which set an annual cap of 50,000 refugees in the United States of America. And I want to break down the numbers for you guys as well of how we turned into a country that is so divided, and how we have all of these different subdivisions of cultures in the United States of America where people are not assimilating, okay? That's because back in the 1980s, we signed a bunch of immigration reform acts that allowed refugees and asylum seekers and migrants to come to the United States legally, but basically put zero barriers for them to assimilate, learn the language, learn the culture of the United States of America. There's zero oversight in these programs as well, so they're extremely fraudulent. The diversity visa program is one example of that. 55,000 a year. Hey, guess what? We pulled your name out of a bucket. Here's a green card. Welcome to America. The Refugee Act of 1980 set an annual cap, and still does have an annual cap, of 50,000 refugees into the United States every single year. And I actually took a picture of this. You guys probably cannot see these numbers, but from the 1980s to today, it shows every single year the amount of refugees that have been admitted into the U.S. Now, under Ronald Reagan alone, we had 720,000 plus refugees come into the United States of America. George H.W. Bush, another 600,000 refugees. Under Bill Clinton in the 90s, 780,000 refugees. Under Obama, 611,000 refugees. Under Joe Biden, the cap was set at 125,000. I forgot to tell you guys that it's a yearly cap that can fluctuate based on who's president. The first year it was enacted in the 1980s, it was set at 50,000. They actually let in 200,000 refugees due to the Vietnam War. The Refugee Act has also been allowing hundreds of thousands that have now amounted to millions of immigrants to come into the United States of America. And you might say, well, Sav, these people have been, really struggling. Their nation is destabilized. It's war-torn. They need help. Okay, well, you need to come to the United States of America and you need to assimilate. You need to learn the language. You need to learn the customs and the culture. But we have no barriers in place. And it's why since the 80s, we have been flooded with millions of people legally via the Refugee Act, via the diversity visa lottery, via the H-1B visa program, via all of these various ways that migrants can come into the United States. And now fast forward to 2025, and the average American is now competing with all of the people who, by the way, came over here via legal immigration, but then via secondary migration are bringing over their family members, and they're coming over here to the United States of America, and they're sending money back home. When I was on the streets of Minnesota, the average Somali, they were like, yeah, I'm actually going to go back to Somalia to visit because I miss my home. I actually send money back home because I'm here to work, to send money back to my family in Somalia. They're not here to integrate into the culture. They are not here to be a part of the country. They are here to come, siphon our resources, and send them abroad. They are here in our government to work on behalf of their foreign country. Ilhan Omar is one of the best examples of this, as she goes into Congress and says, I'm a Somali girl. I'm here on behalf of Somalia. I'm here on for the interests of Somalia. Every single Somalian politician that I've seen has said the exact same thing on camera, and this is just a normal, everyday part of society in the United States. Do you think that this is how the founding fathers intended our country to run? I don't. Now, let's talk as well about the H-1B visa program, because this is another huge issue. The H-1B side of things. Since 2015, okay, so this post said 2 million H-1B visas have been issued in the last 5 years. Now, H-1B visas very synonymous with Indian culture, and this is a very pervasive and fraudulent program in which you have, many people have pointed out, a huge swath of Indians that have taken over portions of the trucking community, the tech community. And people are like, how is this happening? Well, it's because Indians come in and they become the HR managers or they become the job posters of these sites. And then they prioritize the Indian H-1B applicants for these positions. And then when the Indian H-1B applicants are able to get that application, they are able to bring over their family members who then also get a work visa. By the way, there are entire systems in which you have these Indian mills in which they create fake bachelor's and master's degrees, which are necessary to get an H-1B visa, so they can qualify for them despite not actually having the education. Very fraudulent. This user posts 2 million H-1B visas have been issued in the last 5 years. 2 million, okay? So 2 million H-1B visas. And that's just the H-1B side of things. Since 2015, their spouses and children also get visas under the H-4 visa system. Then you have F-1 student visas, which is another million plus from India and China. You also have the F-2, which is their spouses and children. Add another 1 to 2 million. Then you have the U-1 visa, where Indians are faking crimes to get a pathway to citizenship. You have the U-2, U-4, U-5 visas, where the spouse, children, parents, and siblings of that Indian who faked the crime also get into the country. Then you have V visas. When one of the above people get permanent residency, they get to chain migrate their family here. Aesthetica on X, one of my favorite follows, has delved extensively into the H-1B visa programs and the fraud that is coming along with it. And that's how you have Indian truck drivers that are driving on the street, killing Americans. So the legal immigration system is out of control, to be quite honest with you. The fact that we have 55 million visas issued on top of, again, the asylum program, the refugee program, the diversity visa program, the illegal immigrants who came into this nation as well. It's unsustainable, and we will never be a unified nation until mass deportations happen and we start telling people that if they want to come to the United States of America, you want to have a green card, you adapt to the culture, you learn the language, you come and you assimilate to Western values. But we have our own states that are actively working against us. The states in yellow on this map are states that are granting undocumented immigrants driving privileges. We've got Washington, Oregon, California, Nevada, Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, Minnesota, New York, Illinois, Virginia, Maryland, New Jersey, Delaware. Sure, you're an illegal immigrant. You don't know how to drive on our streets. You can't read English. You don't know the word signs. That's okay. Here's a driver's license. Have fun crossing state lines and killing an entire family in Florida. Huge issue that is happening in the United States of America. Another aspect to this that I forgot to mention as well is temporary protected status, okay? So for example, Venezuelans, Somalians, they get temporary protected status because their nation is going through war, right? So they come to the United States, they can't be deported. Well, let's see how TPS is going in the United States of America. This is from Bill Malusian. DHS confirms that a suspected DUI driver who veered his Maserati into oncoming traffic and crashed head-on into a car in Nashville, killing a woman, is a Honduran illegal alien who had his temporary protected status revoked a decade ago. Okay, so people come in to the United States, their status, their visa is revoked, they're already here, they're not going to leave. And then you have American citizens that are killed as a result of it. There he is. Honduran national should not have been here, but was let in via temporary protected status. It was revoked. He's still here. You now have another American that has died. Oh, by the way, the cherry on top of this story is that they booked this illegal alien as white. Remember how I was talking about Beverly Hills and how the LA Times is saying that crime stats are down? This is what I'm talking about when I state that the crime statistics in this nation are extremely manipulated. There are stats all the time about how white men commit the majority of crimes in the United States of America. And then time and time again, you see black men, Honduran illegals, Mexicans, Venezuelans booked as white. How does that happen? That's strange. This story is out of, like I said, too, Nashville. Booked him as a white guy. Okay, very interesting. So we have no idea, by the way, how many illegal immigrants are actually in this country, or legal immigrants for that matter. But people venture to say it's about a third of the nation. I would venture to say it's about a third of the nation. And that is why things are so chaotic right now. It's why we will never have unity. This is not the country the founding fathers intended for us, and it's why the younger generations have become so radicalized and now want more draconian measures enacted, because we're exhausted with the fact that we have been living through all of this, that we have the information available to us. It's no longer being hidden. It's impossible for the government to hide just how flooded our country has become. And then you have the president coming forward and saying, let's go ahead and let in 600,000 more Chinese students as well. American students, American people are drowning under the weight of our economy, the housing market, the ability to buy groceries. We're drowning. We need help. And the government is like, you guys are drowning? Let's go ahead and pour another bucket of more migrants on top of you for you to compete with. Let's talk about the Indian illegal immigrant truck driver that killed 3 innocent Americans. You guys have seen this video as well. He makes an illegal U-turn. And I believe, again, this was in Florida. The most horrific part of this video is how he's just standing there at the end of it after killing an entire family, just totally unfazed. Not a big deal. Now, after this story came out, it was found out that he failed an English language proficiency test, answering only 2 of 12 questions correctly and identifying only 1 of 4 traffic signs correctly. Even further, he was also pulled over in New Mexico after pulling an illegal U-turn. So he's been pulled over for this before. Here is the police footage of that, by the way, because this man can barely speak English. And it is the failure again and again and again of our own governmental system that allowed him to continue driving on the roads, which led to the death of 3 Americans.
I feel bad being the first guy to write you a ticket, but you know, I try to help you out.
They said my no license in the ticket.
What's that?
They send the ticket in the no my credit.
I'm sorry, I guess I don't understand what
Maybe in the this my ticket and the my license. Or how many years?
So there you guys go. He can barely speak English, fresh off the boat from India, straight here in the United States, straight into a big rig. RIP to the Americans that are in the way. Keep in mind, this isn't the first and it's not the last time that this has happened either. So if you're struggling with the economy, if you're struggling because you can't buy a house, if you're struggling because your child is not being prioritized in school because, you know, maybe 5 or 6 other members of their school can't speak English, so the teacher's paying attention to them instead. If you're struggling because the economy is bad, if you're struggling because you can't get a spot in universities to even get a job to begin with, well, add on top of that, not being safe on your own roads either, because you have illegal immigrants who can't even read the traffic signs on the street. And then also, we have another 600,000 students coming in from China because Americans don't have it hard enough already. Damn, I told myself that I was going to be relaxed and have a fun, jovial show. And here I am, just being so serious, my friends. I feel like I need to get a co-host who helps me break up the seriousness of these stories. But it's like, I can't even joke about it because it is so frustrating to live through. And you have, Marco Rubio, who came forward and said that effective immediately, all issuance of worker visas for commercial truck drivers are paused. Absolutely incredible. But who is responsible for this entire system in place in which you have these illegal immigrants driving on our streets? And we have an American who did a very good investigation into how. Now, this video is 2 minutes long. It is kind of long, but I was trying to cut it down shorter. Every single part of it is amazing. This is how fraudulent all of these systems are. And I did a similar investigation into Uber Eats, right? Because you have all these illegals who, by the way, are still in New York doing DoorDash, doing Uber Eats. How are they working if you need an ID or a social security number to do these things? Well, there's an entire black market on Facebook for it. You just go on Facebook, you buy a little social security number, you buy a little fake ID, bada boom, bada bing. There you go. You're cooking with peanut oil. And now you can do whatever you want in the United States of America. Well, apparently it's the exact same way for getting a CDL. Listen to this video.
I recently went undercover posing as a non-domicile, non-English speaking driver with zero experience to see just how easy and quick it would be to obtain a truck driving job in America. Now, the first thing I did is I went and I created a fake Facebook account, and then I typed in trucking jobs. And there's tons of Facebook groups just like the one right there that pop up. You join the groups, and right out of the gate, there's hundreds of posts like this right here. Assalamu alaikum, need Amazon drivers. Now, these Facebook groups are very, I guess you could say, utilitarian, because not only can you find these obscure non-domicile jobs, but you can also browse for active MC numbers with Amazon accounts already attached to them so that you can just buy the MC number from somebody else, duct tape it to the side of your truck, and you're good to go. There's a whole black market on these Facebook groups selling MC numbers with active accounts. So have you screwed your MC number up? As a driver went out and killed somebody under your MC number? That's okay. Just get on this Facebook group and you can buy another one, print it off, and duct tape it to your door, and then show up at Amazon, and you can still haul their freight for them. Perhaps even you're looking to sell an MC number with an active Amazon account. You can do that also. Now, moving forward with the process, we're about 5 minutes in now. I reached out via text message to this phone number right here. I simply said, "Are you still hiring for Amazon driver?" A short time later, I got a phone call, and that phone call was a guy who I personally could barely understand. I was trying to emulate an accent the best that I could to remain cloaked. And the very first question they asked, which was the deciding factor if they would hire me, was, "Where are you from originally?" I couldn't say I was from America, so I lied, and I said that I was from India. They then took my information, and I got a phone call back shortly thereafter, and it was a 3-minute phone call with the guy who was sort of the head honcho over the entire operation, who told me it was totally okay that I don't have experience, that's not going to be an issue at all, and that they would be happy to put me behind the wheel of a truck, regardless of circumstances. But just wait, they actually informed me that they don't just do Amazon, they also do FedEx and USPS. They contract for those as well. Now, if you're a truck driver or if you travel the interstates often, you guys know that Amazon, FedEx, and USPS is sort of the trifecta of misery that we all see being at the scene of each one of these massive wrecks where there's multiple people losing their lives when a non-domicile driver crashes into somebody.
So there you guys go, a full explanation as to how these drivers are on the road, By the way, I said CDL license, but this is the MC number, which is the motor carrier number. But again, all of these programs just so fraudulent, and Americans are so much unsafer every single day because of them. By the way, for those of us thinking that importing more Indians into the United States would be a good idea, you had Indians who created a petition seeking a reduced sentence for Harjinder Singh, the illegal immigrant who was responsible for the crash that we all were just talking about. 2.2 million people signed it. Indian people and Indian culture is very tribal. Let's be honest about it. Many of the cultures that we are importing into the United States are very tribal. And they will fight tooth and nail to the death to defend the person from their country. Doesn't matter the crime they committed. Doesn't matter the Americans that they killed. Oh, you're from the same country as me? We're brothers? I don't care what you did. I will fight to defend you. It's the same pattern for a lot of these communities. And it's why our country is not running properly, nor will run properly if we continue to allow this to happen. 1.5 million immigrants have left the U.S. so far this year, apparently. It's the first time the immigration population has fallen in decades, a clear win for the Trump administration, per Axios. By June, the immigrant population has dropped to 51.9 million. 19% of the labor force were immigrants as of June, down from 20% last year, a decrease of more than 750,000 workers. The immigration population has dropped to 51.9 million. What a stat. That's why when I read the headline, 1.5 million self-deport, it's like, okay, well, let's take a peek at the 51 million. Okay. Plus the 55 million visa holders, plus the unknown number of illegal immigrants in this country too. Incredible. Just incredible. And by the way, these migrants as well will come in and they will absolutely advocate on behalf of taking away your First Amendment right to call them out for their crimes or the cultural differences that lead them to raping a 12-year-old. Whoopsies. Exact same thing that's happening in the UK. And again, a sane society would not put up with this. A first world country would understand that this is not how a civilized nation works or runs, and that this is only going to lead to long-term destruction. But here we are. Here we are still talking about Kilmar Abrego Garcia because for some reason we brought him back from El Salvador after he was deported there. And it's hilarious because our news says, oh, he was deported over there by accident by the admin. Whoopsies. He shouldn't be in this country to begin with. He should not have been brought back to this country to begin with. Now, after he was brought back into the United States, the Trump admin immediately said, yeah, we're looking into deporting him to Uganda. And this is what his lawyer had to say about the matter.
It is preposterous that they would send him to Africa, to a country where he doesn't even speak the language.
Hang on. You guys might have missed that. Listen to that again, the last part specifically.
It is preposterous that they would send him to Africa, to a country where he doesn't even speak the language.
Kilmar Abrego Garcia doesn't speak English. He's currently in a country where he doesn't speak the language. His lawyer is arguing that it's inhumane for the U.S. to consider deporting him to Uganda because he doesn't speak the language. Meanwhile, he's in the U.S. and he does not speak the language. Therefore, it is inhumane for him to be in the United States, and absolutely he should be sent back to El Salvador, his country of origin. In a normal society that had basic rule of law, Kilmar Abrego Garcia would not even be a talking point here. He would be deported, gone. We're never hearing from him again. And the fact that we're having a fight about this is ridiculous, to be quite honest with you. You know what people voted for? We voted for this. This is an illegal immigrant. Okay, so he's crying, por favor, no, please don't take me back to my country. Yes, me and my people wave the Mexican and Honduran and Venezuelan flag in the streets, but the worst thing that you could do is send me back to the country of the flag that I'm waving. Please. By the way, this guy who is screaming, and it's hilarious too, because of course the media jumped on this, like, oh, this poor immigrant, he was just here for a better life. Why would you do this? Can't you hear his screams? Aren't you humane? Yeah, he was arrested on child sex charges and entered the U.S. illegally 3 times. Okay, great. So that's who's coming into the United States of America. That's who's here. And that is why the American people are freaking exhausted, my friends. That is why we are exhausted. Now, I know we've gone over an hour. It's because I haven't been with you guys for so long. So let's just go ahead and run through some cultural headlines and also check in on the Maha movement real quick, because the White House says that their new CDC director is fired and she's now refusing to leave. Susan Monterez was said to have refused to adopt Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s stance on vaccination policy. And so he fired her. And then she was like, you can't fire me. I was elected by the Senate. Donald Trump has to fire me. And then Donald Trump was like, okay, you're fired. But the firing was sent out in an email, I guess, to her lawyer, basically saying like, yeah, the Trump admin is firing her. And the lawyer is now trying to argue, well, it didn't come from Trump himself, so she's not fired. That's what's currently happening right now. Great to see RFK Jr. stand firm on the vaccination policy on this country. But this is the real juice of this story right here, okay? So this is her lawyers right here. This is their quote. It is about the systemic dismantling of public health institutions, the silencing of experts, the dangerous politicization of science. The attack on Dr. Monterez is a warning to every American. Our evidence-based systems are being undermined from within. Let's take a peek at those evidence-based systems. Let's take a peek at what's going on within. This is a screenshot from American Academy of Pediatrics webpage thanking the organization's top corporate donors. Now, before I show you what the picture is, I was reading this and I was like, oh, this is probably from one of those crazy conspiracy theory X accounts. I scroll up because this is the picture. American Academy of Pediatrics. I thought it was photoshopped. Here's their corporate donors: Merck, Moderna, Pfizer, Sanofi. I've never heard of Sanofi. I've never heard of them, but do you know who these people are, my friends? These 4 companies make virtually every vaccine on the CDC recommended childhood vaccine schedule. Wow. I genuinely thought that this was photoshopped because that's how out of control this is. Look at that. These are their corporate donors. This is who donates to the American Academy of Pediatrics, all of the creators of the vaccination. So it's hilarious to me when the new CDC director is like, you're silencing experts. This is dangerous and it's a politicization of science. No. Every single medical institution in the United States of America is bought and paid for by Big Pharma. Every doctor is a Big Pharma salesman. They go to school to learn how to push drugs on the American people. We have a huge issue with the over-medicalization of Americans and also suicidal Americans who then go and commit mass shootings because of the trans hormones and drugs that they are being put on by the same doctors funded by Big Pharma. And now RFK Jr. is calling it all out. And the people at the top hate it. They hate the fact that they are being exposed. They hate the fact that you are now seeing that the American Academy of Pediatrics is freaking funded by all of the vaccine manufacturers who are also giving these same organizations money to vaccinate your kid with their product. And by the way, if your child gets vaccine injured, you can't sue them. You can't sue them. So there you guys go. RFK Jr. doing his best to try to clean up the system there. I absolutely love to see it. Again, I was absolutely floored when I saw this graphic because I thought it was photoshopped. I thought it was a joke that the corporate donors page was every single major vaccination manufacturer in America, and that's who funds the American Academy of Pediatrics. What a freaking joke. Kennedy says, these 4 companies make virtually every vaccine on the CDC recommended childhood vaccine schedule. AAP is angry that the CDC has eliminated corporate influence in decisions over vaccine recommendations and returned to CDC gold standard science and evidence-based medicine, laser focused on children's health. It's so funny because every single person who's trying to argue that RFK Jr. is ruining the CDC because he's getting away from science are the exact same people who, guess what, are bought and paid for and don't give a damn about science, don't give a damn about your child, don't give a damn about anybody's health in this country, because if they did, they would actually be working to get to the forefront of what is happening with vaccine injuries, what's happening with, Americans that continue to get sick. If you go and you listen to any major doctor, they will tell you, yeah, we are not trained to get to the bottom of people's ailments and diseases. We are put into place to get through as many medical patients as possible and prescribe them medication as fast as possible. The medication is a Band-Aid. We're here to prescribe it. That's it. We're not going to look into your diet. We're not going to look into exercise. We're not going to look into anything else that could be at the cause of your problem and actually try to fix it. We want to make you a customer for life. And that's been the medical industry. It is disgusting. And I'm happy to see good developments. Now let's go ahead and jump into the culture before we wrap up the show today, because my friends, the culture, it's crazy. Starting off with Snoop Dogg. Good old Snoop. What's going on here? Okay, Snoop Dogg says Pixar's gay couple in Lightyear had his grandson asking questions and it effed him up because he did not have the answer. Apparently, his grandson said, "Why did this character have a baby with another woman?" Well, my grandson in the middle of the movie asked Papa Snoop, "How she have a baby with a woman? She's a woman." And then Snoop said, "I didn't come for this crap. I came to watch a damn movie. It effed me up. I'm scared to go to the movies. Y'all throwing me in the middle of that crap that I don't have an answer for, and it threw me for a loop." I think Snoop Dogg speaks for the the majority of American parents here and just Americans in general. And I mean, this is it. This is what we're talking about when we discuss the grooming of children via these children's shows and movies. We don't want to have to be having a talk about the LGBTQ community and y'all's weird sex kinks when we're taking our kid to watch a movie, a children's movie. So there you go, Snoop Dogg highlighting and shining a light on that issue. Let's check in on Lil Nas X, who is famously known to mock Jesus and worship Satan. Lil Nas X has reportedly been hospitalized due to a suspected overdose after being found walking through the streets of Los Angeles at around 4 a.m. wearing only underwear. Now, he has since been charged with 4 felonies, and he has pled not guilty. He's made bail at $75,000. But anyways, kids, that's why you shouldn't worship Satan, okay? Lil Nas X thought that this was going to turn out well for him, and now he's going viral for walking around the streets in his underwear acting like a lunatic. Don't worship Satan, kids. Don't do it. It's not going to end well. Let's check in on Ozempic America. Ozempic reportedly faces $2 billion in lawsuits over severe side effects. Okay. Nearly 2,000 lawsuits allege Ozempic caused health issues, including stomach paralysis and vision loss. So there you guys go. There's no quick fix to getting healthy and getting your weight under control. You just got to have self-discipline. Watch what you're putting in your mouth. Make sure that you put your health first and make it a priority. There is no quick fix for anything. And now the people who thought that Ozempic was a miracle drug are dealing with stomach paralysis and vision loss. Prayers for all of you. Get your health in order, my friends. Let's check in on Bill Belichick, because to be quite honest with you, I'm a glutton for the reality TV aspect of the world, okay? It's just so messy and dramatic, and sometimes I love to delve in. And Jordan Hudson, Bill Belichick's 24-year-old girlfriend, she's so interesting to me. She's so intriguing to me because she's like the gold digger standard of girlfriends across America. Well, she just trademarked the term gold digger for her new jewelry line. Very interesting. Very, very interesting there. Take with that what you will. I have no commentary other than I thought that it was clever. What a clever marketing move, Jordan. We all see what you're doing. It's very clever. Let's check in on Cracker Barrel as well, because there was huge outrage over them changing their logo. They have decided to reverse course, and they are keeping the cracker. They are keeping the barrel on the logo. Now, I didn't really comment on this on my X account because I do think there are more important issues going on. However, I don't want to undercount the cultural win that this was. To be quite honest, what this symbolized to me was Americans being tired of tradition, institutions, and the symbols of America being changed and being made ugly and being modernized. Americans are exhausted with it, and they got loud enough, and that logo got changed. And not only that, but Robbie Starbuck, who's at the forefront of completely exposing every single corporation that backs LGBTQ DEI ridiculousness, he exposed them so hard that they're actually reversing that policy as well. So I do see it as a cultural win. Lastly, this story got really minimal coverage, and it was just absolutely insane. Did you guys hear about the advisor to Benjamin Netanyahu, who got arrested in Las Vegas for trying to have sex with a minor and then was allowed to leave the United States and go back to Israel? By the way, the district attorney that allowed this pedophile to leave was Israeli born and is Jewish as well. Very weird, very strange. That story completely blacked out by the media. I was reading this and I was like following along with it, and I was like, what the heck is going on there? Anyways, just wanted to touch on all of those interesting headlines and give you an idea of what is going on in modern day America, why Gen Z is so radicalized against all forms of immigration at this point. And hopefully I explained and highlighted for you guys well all of the various visa programs and asylum laws and temporary protected status and illegal immigration that has been allowed to take place over the last, 80s, 20, 25, 50 plus years. Yeah, I mean, it's been going on since well before the 80s, but we've been dealing with this for so long, and that's why our country looks like it does today. So we need to get things under control. Anyways, if you like this show, please go leave me a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. I read every single review. Also, if you would like to subscribe, my subscribe star is in the link down below. Make sure to go follow me on X as well. I have subscriptions on that too. And this is going to be, I know that I haven't done a show for you guys in a while, but I am going to be revamping and moving into a new studio. So there will be another pause on the show, but I promise you guys that once I'm in this new studio, we will make it consistent. It'll be great. Let me know what you thought of the show today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I will see you guys in a couple of weeks. All right, y'all. That was a long show, but I had to get it all out. We had to discuss all of those pivotal issues. Let me get to your super chats now. Starting off with Mark, who says, good afternoon and welcome back, Sav. The Democrats are showing how much they love crime by their protests of Trump sending in the troops to clean up D.C. Trump needs to do the same with other cities. Yeah, you know what? I'm tired at this point. Federalize every damn city in the United States of America. And if it's like, oh, Sav, that's a slippery slope. I don't care. No. We're not doing this. Because guess what? Our country already reached the point of no return after the Democrats weaponized every intelligence agency against innocent Americans and spied on them. All right? At the very least and at the bare minimum, Donald Trump could come in and clean up American cities, and Americans are begging for this to happen too. Whew! Those hurt my ears. I'm going to take that off for a second. Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm exhausted. Federalize everything. I'm over it. Mark says we need to get foreign-born judges out of our courts. They are ruining the country. Mark, it's foreign-born. It is the first-generation children of immigrants as well. We have a lot of issues in this country, and to be quite honest with you, we will never be unified until we get the immigration policy under control. I straight up am calling for an immigration moratorium until we have a cohesive culture again. And that's the only way we can truly fix America. Junior says, America needs a Bukele-style stance on criminals. Absolutely we do. We need to stop being soft on crime, and we need to stop giving leeway to these Democrat and progressive judges who think that allowing a criminal to go out and reoffend again and again and again is normal and civilized behavior. It's not, and I'm tired of pretending that it is. And like I said, all of our problems could be solved overnight, truly, if we wanted them to. The federalization of DC proved that. Literally overnight, people were like, wow, I'm not getting stabbed in the street. I'm not worried about getting carjacked. I can stop at a red light and it's a civilized nation. Crazy. Was that not a red flag for anybody else? Was that not like a light bulb moment of maybe our country has gotten out of control and we need to take more drastic measures? I'm talking like Rudy Giuliani in New York-esque stop and frisk. I'm over it. Okay? That's where I'm at. I don't give a damn about the libertarians. Oh, my rights, No, I'm over it. Or we can just fully abolish the police and Americans can take care of this problem themselves. Choose one or the other. Junior says we need to heavily tax any money sent overseas by these immigrants and then deport them too. Yeah, absolutely. That's another issue is we're not taxing the money that they're sending abroad, which is why they come over here. They take the money from the United States. They siphon out off of our programs. By the way, a lot of these poor asylum seekers are put in Section 8 housing. They're on food stamps. They're on U.S. programs. And then all the money that they're earning is being sent to foreign countries that don't serve the interest of the United States of America. It's just, I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I know other Americans are tired. The younger generation is exhausted. And like I said, you are going to increasingly see the younger generation continue to call for more drastic and draconian measures because we realize that our country has already reached a point of no return. And this is not the country that our founding fathers created, to be quite frank. Junior says, any thoughts on Taylor Swift getting engaged? Whether you love or hate Taylor Swift, she is a cultural icon to a lot of women, and her marriage and subsequent, hopefully, pregnancy will lead to the biggest baby boom the United States has ever seen. I could also see her engagement alone completely dismantling the last 50 years of radical feminism. So I do think that it's a good big win for straight pride this week that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are engaged. Good for them. I see it as like a chaotic good in society. And Travis Kelce can never get out of that marriage now. If they ever get divorced, that man's going to have to straight up leave the United States of America because her fan base is so radical. That's my viewpoint on that. Mark Zart says, don't know if you're a Cowboys fan, Sav, but the Cowboys just traded Micah Parsons to my Green Bay Packers. I'm not a football fan. I'm more of a baseball fan. My dad's big into football. I'm not. Speaking of dad, by the way, make sure to go follow my TikTok account. He's been working on it nonstop. And I know a lot of you guys ask for shorter clips from this show. I am working nonstop on everything under the sun. So my dad has created a TikTok account, and he's also utilizing my Instagram to create a lot of those shorter videos from the show as well that you guys have been asking for. So this is a mix of my on the ground reporting, clips from my show. So you guys can go follow the TikTok account, Sav Hernandez 1776, Sav _says_. Go and check him out there. And like I said, he is actually utilizing my Instagram very well too right now. So anyways, I'm glad you guys just tuned in to watch me cough. Woo! Anyways, that's all I got for you guys. Woo! That was a marathon, an hour and a half show. I missed talking to you guys. I missed doing the show. Honestly, I'm making a new studio and I kind of want to do like a handheld mic, a more relaxed, vibe. And I do need to be more relaxed on the show. I do need to calm down a little bit more. I want to be more jovial and funny and relaxed, but it's like my entire country is being freaking invaded and the economy sucks. Like, I'm kind of pissed off about it. I go to freaking New York. There's groups of African migrants all over the place. Don't speak a lick of English. By the way, personal story time. I should probably make a shorter video of this and post it on my X account, and I might. I had my first experience, my first run-in with Indian culture, the same Indian culture that a lot of women in various countries like Canada and the UK have been warning about. And I understand why they've been warning about it. So this was during Memorial Day in Chicago, and I actually wrote like an entire piece because I was like, I want to start a Substack. I want to be a writer. And so I wrote an entire piece about it, but classic of me, I am, focusing on the video content more. But essentially, I was out for Memorial Day, just walking the streets of downtown Chicago. I travel a lot to various cities. I like to walk around at night sometimes. I'm not stupid. I always stay in the populated area surrounded by tourists. I'm not going down any alleyways, nothing like that. And I'm in Chicago. It's a nice downtown area. They have benches set up so you can look at the skyline. I'm walking, and my dad, of course, has always taught me to make sure that I'm aware of my surroundings. So I'm walking, and I look behind my shoulder, and I just see this group of 3 Indian guys. And I make eye contact with one of them. And I was just like, okay, whatever. I keep walking, but I don't like men walking behind me. Just, again, safety concern. So I sit down at the bench and I let them pass. And then I'm just looking at the skyline in front of me, minding my own business. And then I look down the way to make sure they're gone so I can keep walking. This Indian guy, one of them, he stands there and he's paused and he makes eye contact with me again. And I'm like, oh, damn it. And I just look forward and I'm like, just go away, just go away. And then I can see him in my peripheral vision start to walk toward me. Good Lord Jesus. I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, I'm actually going to have to be part of my French, but I'm not going to be, I'm going to have to be a bitch to this man to like get the point across. It comes and sits next to me. I don't even make eye contact with him. He's trying to talk to me, and I just like, go away, leave me alone. He gets up and he walks away. I look down again to make sure he's gone. He's there waiting for me. Wait, no, I lied. I'm sitting there at the bench. He sits next to me. I get up and I walk away after making it very apparent I wasn't interested. But I looked down and it was his two friends that were waiting for me. So now he's following me and he's yelling after me. And then I'm walking forward toward his two friends. And then I look around me and the only people around me are Indians. And it was the first time that I felt like a foreigner in my own country, and I understood what that felt like because I was like looking around. And like I said, I travel a lot, and obviously America is a very diverse country, but diversity means that you're used to seeing various people of all different colors. That's what America looks like, right? So it was jarring to be followed by this Indian guy who's screaming at me, and I've never experienced a culture who sees signs of visible disgust from a woman and takes it as a cue to keep on egging, like as a cue to keep moving forward and keep trying to approach and talk to the woman. I was very jarred by the experience. It was the first time that I actually walked to my hotel room, and I was scared that because I just like walked to my hotel. I was like, I got to get out of here. And they had eventually stopped following me, thank God. But it was the first time that I was afraid I was going to be followed all the way back to my hotel room. I was freaked out for the rest of the night. Keep in mind too, I have gone to crackhead central in the United States of America. I've been surrounded by the worst of the worst. So not a lot really freaks me out. This situation did. I've never experienced a culture that does not understand the basic cues of leave me alone, I am not interested, and again, takes it as an invitation to keep trying harder. Very disturbing experience. And like I said, I haven't really talked about it because I was like, I don't know, maybe it was a one-off experience, but the more stories that I'm seeing specifically as it pertains to women and Indian culture, the more I'm like, okay, absolutely incredible. These people are not, they're not compatible with Western culture. So there you guys go. That's my 2 cents. That's my story time on that front. What the hell's going on in this country? It's just absolutely insane. It truly is. And I'm exhausted with it. My fellow millennials and Gen Z are exhausted with it. And like I said, the reason why you're seeing more radical politics is because people are tired. Okay? They're tired. I'm tired too. So I'm logging off, but go sub to my X account. Go subscribe to my Subscribestar account. Go and leave me a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts if you like the show. As our founding fathers would say, support your local podcaster and leave a 5-star review that's actually written in their speeches from back in the 1700s. So please listen to their wise words. Anyways, my friends, that's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Rapid Fire, which I am thinking of completely rebranding. I want to bring on, some guests, maybe have some better conversations. Maybe I hire a producer so this show is actually better. Maybe I get a new camera so my picture quality looks good. I don't know. The sky is the limit, my friends. I'm going to depart now, but thank you so much for tuning in. Go follow me, go like, go share, go subscribe, all that good stuff. I'll see you guys next time.